in your cheek. You ever get that feel that you can't shift the tide that sticks around like summits in your teeth? Out of some aces up your sleeve, have you no idea that you're in deep? I dreamt about you nearly every night this week. How many secrets can you keep? 'Cause there's this tune I found that makes me think of you somehow, and I play it on repeat until I fall asleep, spilling drinks on my settee. Do I wanna know if this feeling flows both ways? Sorta hoping that you'd stay. We both know that the nights were mainly made for saying things that you can't say tomorrow day. Crawling back to you, never thought I'd call and run. You like you, 'cause I always do. Maybe I'm too busy being lost to fall for running you. Now I'm going through, crawling back to you. So have you got the good?
Wow, wow, wow is all I can say right now. We got a busy night of sports going on. Tube's full. We got Yankees, Mariners about to start up. I'm kind of sick in the stomach because Yankees are on the field getting, like, trophies and pictures and all this. Derek Jeter, sorry, there's so much pain related to you when I'm thinking of my Mariners. But hey, if someone wants to give you a nice picture of you, then fantastic. Good for you. NBA Finals going on. San Antonio is absolutely routing the Heat over there in Miami. Or obviously early. We all know how the NBA works. It'll be a game at the end of the third quarter once again, and it'll go right down to the wire. But hey, this is not about basketball, NBA. This is not about baseball, Major League Baseball. This show is about one thing. This show is about the Seattle Seahawks. Welcome, 12s. 12th man, 12th lady, and Hawks Nation around the world. This is your show, 12 for 12s, hosted by good old me, Paul Beyer. I hope you guys are doing great out there today. A little cloud cover here in Seattle, maybe a little respite from all that heat we've been getting. You know, heck, it gets to 75 here and it's hot. But that's what you get when you live in Seattle, but it's fantastic. I got a busy show tonight. First of all, I am joined by a very special guest. Very excited to talk to this gentleman, Gene Hushak, the president of the Seahawkers Booster Club. Yeah, the entire Seahawkers Booster Club. So all you little Seahawker groups out there in no man's land, you know, out in northern Minnesota, Canada, Europe, Australia, yeah, all you guys. Well, the head honcho, El Presidente, Gene Hushak's going to be on my show tonight. I cannot wait to talk to the man. I mean, this guy has held the trophy. He's actually held the Lombardi, gloves and all. I mean, I can't wait to talk to him, and it's going to be a fun little segment here, part of the show, a little bit after the bottom of the hour here at 7:35 or so. But before that, we've got a lot to get to. Quick Takes tonight is going to be a little bigger. It's a big week, and believe it or not, again, there's always something to talk about when it comes to our Hawks, and there's no issue getting the Hawks 12 taken care of. Now I'm actually going more than that. I'm having to do my Quick Takes. So we'll go right into this. Thanks again for joining me tonight, and I hope you do enjoy the show. Okay, first of all, day 8 of OTAs, Organized Team Activities. Actually started yesterday, so we're into day 8 today. It was day 7 yesterday. They'll do 9 and 10, and then that will be the wrap for OTAs as minicamp starts a week from today, and that's involuntary minicamp, meaning everybody's got to be there, okay? A couple things that came out of this last week, especially during the town hall, which I'll get into a little later today, but Darrell Bevel had made the comment, and he's now walked it back since, that we will have a running back by committee backfield this upcoming year. And I touched on this actually last week before this even became an issue, talking about the crystal ball segment I did on how I perceive the running backs and how they'll be separated in carries and so forth. It's really if you just look at the numbers, Marshawn has been getting about 2 to 3 less carries per year the last few years. I expect him to get somewhere in the average about 19 carries a game this year. I expect Christine Michael, Robert Turbin to get 4 to 5 carries each per game. I don't expect a running back by committee. Marshawn's the man, and he will be this year. Now, after this year, I think things can change, but that's a whole other story we'll get into later. Darrell Bevell just had to walk it back a little bit, but again, I didn't think anything of it. It was nothing I got all, my panties in a bunch about it. I assume that most of you are the same. Beast Mode is our guy, and he's going to be our guy, especially in 2014 as we defend our Lombardi Trophy. The big surprises, and I think of this so far, OTAs and the performers, I wanted to talk about real quick and mention that because the coaches have been talking about them. One is obviously Christine Michael, which we've already discussed previously, but also Corey Toomer, outside linebacker. I'm going to get into a little bit about him later in the show, but I think it's important to note these are some guys, again, start looking at the guys that you don't necessarily think about all the time. These are the players that are going to be key contributors going into 2014, and most of you don't have the time of day like I usually do to do all the research, and that's why you listen to my show. That's why you look at my website, 12for12s.com, and that's 12FOR, 12s.com. Again, thank you for everyone that has been enjoying it. The views are going up every day, so thank you again for everyone as the brand 12 for 12s continues to grow. But you need to know about these guys that aren't necessarily the name brand roster dudes, and we're going to have a lot of guys, I think, playing key parts, and so I think it's interesting to look at. But again, do your homework, folks. There's some real interesting characters and players that are going to be big this year. Now, something interesting that came out. Sam Munson of Pro Football Focus, he actually does a regular ranking of all the league's rosters, 1 to 32, and he came out and ranked us number 1. So, again, we know from a talent perspective how deep this team is. It's quite unbelievable, and we are definitely the most talented team. We're also one of the youngest teams. It just goes to go how our player personnel department and John the Schneider and Pete Carroll have just done a fantastic job. Hats off to them once again. All right, one of the big topics here, before I get into my commentary this night that I wanted to mention, is the Seahawks Advisory Council met this last week. And there were a couple of key, call them topics, things they wanted to address, and also announcements that I think everyone should be aware of. First of all, there's going to be a big concert in the North Lot the night of the September 4th opening game against the Packers. So be aware. It's probably going to be someone like Macklemore. I hope they get somebody else just to make it a little bit different. I like Macklemore a lot, but, you can't have Macklemore out there every time. How about a little Dokken? I'm quite a hair metal aficionado. Maybe we'll bring back, maybe get some Motley Crue up there. That'd be good for me, all right? Also, home of the 12th man sign is going to come down. It's going to become home of the 12s. And I'm actually kind of involved or know a lot about the 12s aspect because obviously my name is 12s, and I don't take any money from this. But the 12s, I know who owns that, and I'm sure that he's either making a pretty penny from Mr. Paul Allen on this or he sold it just outright. And actually 12s is now the most widely used reference, or call it hashtag, whatever you want, in referring to 12th the Seahawks fans. So 12th man has kind of been dying down, and 12s has taken over. And now we don't have to worry about writing those checks to Texas A&M. I heard it was something like $5,000 a year, which is nothing, but I'm assuming Texas A&M was trying to come after us for a lot more than that. We'll move on with 12. That's fine by me. I don't really care. Ticket pricing, variable this year, it's starting, so that's going to be interesting. That means, obviously, premium seating for premium games is going to be, obviously, more expensive, and that's just from the origination market, the first market. Secondary market, we all know how that works. It's going to be unreal. Also, the Russell chant, bye-bye, see ya, no more, thank God. That was something that was a bad idea. It was meant in good faith. But it was something that we trying to make noise when Russell's trying to call play as a bad idea. Bittersweet Symphony isn't going anywhere. And it's like a stake going through my heart thinking about this. But, yes, Bittersweet Symphony will continue on. I actually wrote a piece on this, on field goals, in a reaction to someone kind of talking about these actions coming out of the committee. That is the biggest. I don't care about ticket prices. I don't care about beer prices. I don't care about the butter on the popcorn. I care about that song, and even though it's 20 seconds, it's got to go, and it's got to go. It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. That is not the right type of song for a football game. I mean, I've been to Bears playoff games against our Hawks. I've been to road games down in Arizona. Obviously, that's not that tough a place to play, but they're playing Metallica. They're playing stuff that gets you going. The crowd gets stirred up to a frenzy. Now, we know that we don't have to worry about that as much as Seahawk fans, but the reality is Bittersweet Symphony is like the last song I think of in trying to put something out there to get us rolling. Kickstart My Heart, obviously we play that initial guitar riff when going to kickoff. That works out pretty well. But, when the boys come out, Bittersweet Symphony, So anyways, that's a long story in itself. No throwbacks this year. They won't be doing it. So, again, we're with the Wolf Gray, the College Navy, and the Whites, and obviously some of the different interactions between the two for road games and so forth. Obviously with the Wolf Gray, blue pants, and white and blue pants like we did in the Super Bowl. Hard alcohol is being basically banned other than in the club level. So, again, depending on what fits your boat, there you go. New video boards are going in, and they're doing a whole new thing with the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is going to be totally set up this year, apparently by season's beginning, so no worries on the phone because it's been basically impossible to get a signal in there for quite some time. And a couple other things real quick, but they're going to be doing some type of audio upgrade. It's not going to happen this year, but they're going to be doing that to make the sound a little better. That's all well and good. Again, I don't care. It's too loud there anyways because of us. That's all that matters. And that's it for now. So other than Bittersweet Symphony, I really don't care about the rest of it. I'm there to watch the game on the field, not necessarily on the boards. Okay, well, again, we got a big show tonight, but just to backtrack a little bit after my quick takes, I want to go into last week's show with Megan Granito from NFL Female. She's going to be a new contributor there. It was really great to talk to her. I hope everyone's had a chance to either listen to the show on demand on iTunes or TuneIn Radio or Blog Talk Radio, or had a chance to look at the YouTube video slideshow I put together of her time with me. So, you can check all those out. If you have a problem, by the way, on YouTube, looking at any of the videos on especially mobile devices, that's something between YouTube and the music sometimes I use. So if you come across that, just watch it on your desktop. Okay, sometimes I know that's not necessarily easy, but I just want to make sure you know that there's not a problem with you or the video, just it can only be seen on a desktop, all right? Moving on, I need your help again, 12th man, 12th ladies, everybody out there. Keep visiting the site. Keep telling me, giving me feedback on everything. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get my Twitter followers up to 12,012 by 9/4, as well as the unique visitors to the website to 120,012. Both are moving along. Twitter is definitely lagging a little bit. I'm going to have to definitely pick this up somehow. But I know someone big out there will see me and say, God, you know what? This guy needs his followers. And all of a sudden, bam, 12,012. We need to make sure we stay to the magic number, right? 12,012. 12 is the magic number. Continue to spread the word. Continue to help me build the brand. I'm doing the best I can here to give you the most up-to-date information. And, again, thank you to everybody out there that continues to listen to the show. Let's get this thing kicked off. Before that, let me give you one of my sponsors tonight. TYJ Movement. Thanks again to TYJ Movement and their continued support. Check out all the great gear at tyjmovement.com. Their hip and stylish designs will dress you for every occasion. Do yourself the pleasure of joining up with the TYJ Movement at tyjmovement.com. Remember to use Paul2OT, that's Paul number 2OT, to get 20% off. And again, thank you to TYJ Movement for your continued sponsorship. All right, let's go ahead and get to the opening commentary this evening. We are looking like we're on schedule. Things are going pretty good. Again, Gene Hushak from the Seahawks Booster Club will be Seahawkers Booster Club will be joining me a little after the bottom of the hour, about 7:35 Pacific time. So looking forward to that. All right, opening opening commentary tonight is called Repeat or Bust. And by the way, when I spell repeat now, I'm spelling it as R-E-P-E-T-E in honor of our coach, Pete Carroll. Do you find yourself still reveling in the Super Bowl 48 victory, or are you already thinking about a repeat? Personally, I'm in the middle, probably because I'm inside of it all day, every day. I find myself thinking more and more about next season, but still, I want to think about last year. I want to revel in it. The Seahawks are stacked for 2014. I've already discussed that a little bit tonight. Yes, we lost some big players like Big Red Bryant, Clem, Giacomini, Clinton McDonald, the truck driver, my personal favorite, Beebe, Walter Thurman, guys that contributed on a very high level. Those are big-time players. And for any team to lose those types of guys, well, you consider that you might be down for the next year. But when you think about the players we have in reserve, the young players, the redshirt players, boy, there's some things to get excited about. If you actually combine the snaps of all those players I just mentioned, the percentage of overall snaps played, they'd still be under 50%. I mean, it's shocking to think about that. These were guys with big names, but they actually didn't play as much as you might think. Again, we have some great guys waiting in the wings. These aren't unknown commodities, these guys that we have sitting there ready to come up and step up this year. These are players that have played, or as recently as 2 years ago. If you add in the redshirts from 2013 draft class, we are loaded in every position, and even younger than last year. As I mentioned earlier, Pro Football Focus rated our Hawks as the most talented roster in the entire league. Think about that. That's this roster, not last year's roster. Don't worry, 12s, about the talent level. The real issue is seeing how these players and coaches deal with the success. Let's take Richard Sherman, for instance. He's been flying across the country, coast to coast, appearing on national programs. And look, winning the Madden cover, I mean, gosh, what hasn't the guy done? He's out in Chunky Soup, him and his mom filmed a commercial just recently. With all that, Sherman has remained in tip-top shape. He's looked fantastic in all the OTAs. How about our golden boy, new golden boy, by the way, Russell Wilson? Same type of schedule. He's been everywhere, maybe even busier. Heck, he did a commercial for Microsoft talking about that. Pete Carroll says it's the best Russ has ever looked. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger than last year. He also routinely beats Coach Carroll into the facility to go look at tape. He's still early in the morning. They sit down regularly over a cup of coffee and watch and break down tape together. What about Earl? Based on Earl's Instagram, well, he's been in Orange, Texas quite a bit, his hometown. He's been working out extensively. I mean, he's taking pictures of himself doing that. E.T. is close, actually. He's actually working on bettering his hometown. He's building a big urban growth project there to modernize the downtown area. He's taking his family to Disneyland, rode the teacups with his adorable daughter. The point I'm trying to make is that regardless of the microscope being put on the top of the top guys, they've kept their commitment to each other to be better. Not the same, better. If you're Michael Bennett on the beach in Hawaii, as he does, he lives there with his wife and his family, or Bobby Wagner in California, they're all working on something bigger than just themselves. They're working on being better for their teammate, the guy next to them. They really grasp this mantra. So how does this translate to a repeat? Yes, repeat with P-E-T-E spelled into it. Well, the captain of this ship and maestro is Pete Carroll. He's running the program exactly the way he wants it to be run. This was his dream. These guys are so bought, done, closed deal into his Seahawks program. He just keeps flipping the switches, working on the young guys. If you don't buy into it, I have no doubt they won't be here long. This team is working on getting ready for one thing, and that's the Green Bay Packers, September 4th. I'll guarantee you that if you were to ask each of these players what their goal for next year is, they'd say the Packers. That's all they're thinking about. That's because of Pete. That's because of the program. As fans, we can plan, outside the box to think of our parties, thinking about putting things together for Super Bowl in Glendale, Arizona, and our repeat. But really, when it comes down to the players, they're only thinking about the game in front of them. That's truly how Pete has gotten them to think. To us, the season is about the ride and the end result. They both matter. We all want to win the championship again, but that's not what these guys think about. So is this season repeat or bust? Well, for the 12s, it might be. But for the players, nah. They're thinking about demolishing the Packers on September 4th in front of the world on national TV. But that's okay. The 12th man, 12th lady, or 12s now as the stadium will read, is up to the challenge of dealing with the long-term plan. 2 in a row and a repeat shirts for everyone. That's what I say. All right, that's my commentary for this evening. Again, thank you, everybody, for listening to it. I hope you enjoy it. Please give me feedback on my website, Twitter, Facebook, or just send me an email at 12for12s with an S @gmail.com. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. But before I do that, I just want to mention our double overtime team. Remember, tune in every Monday and Wednesday to hear Tim Gardner, Barry Roy, and myself, Paul Beyer, as we talk national sports stories and hit all the details of the local Seattle sports scene in our news. We specialize in friendly debate and a bit of humor, all of us bringing our strengths to the table. Don't miss an episode of Double Overtime. Listen live on Double Overtime Blog Talk Radio channel and subscribe. Remember, we have more shows coming. Thursday right now is T.J. McHenry's Sports Nerd Show, as well as Adam Ungaro's Fourth and Short on Friday. Fantastic show coming along with my 12 for 12s on Tuesday to round out your week's enjoyment of programming. We have a new program coming out now. It's about, a couple of shows have been done on Sundays, and that appears to be fun. But it's a fan show, competition between fans. And it's going to be something they continue during the regular season, pitting the Sunday night game fans against one another. I think it's going to be interesting to watch. So, again, continue to fill in and listen to all of our stuff we're doing here on Double Overtime to help you get through the day, especially the Seattle scene. But we obviously are a national show, so you can listen to us anywhere, and we hope that you are enjoying it. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back, get into the Hawks 12, and then, of course, Mr. Gene Hushak from the Seahawkers Booster Club will be joining me at about 7:35 Pacific time to get into the big events going around with them. I can't wait to hear about it. So here we go. Let's go ahead and hit a little Norb Kawili. We got you back. That's my good friend Norb Kawili playing We Got Your Back, his ode to the LOB. He does some fantastic work. Check out Norb Cam on YouTube. Again, you can find it under Norb Cam, as well as his great music videos that he's put together, along with his vlog that he does every few days. Fantastic entertainment. He does a fantastic job putting all of it together. He's truly an editing genius, so enjoy that. But thanks again, Norb, for use of the music. All right, let's go ahead and get into the Hawks 12 tonight. Gene Hushak is going to be joining me from the Seahawkers Booster Club again about 7:35, about 10 minutes from now. So let's get going here. We got a busy night. Well, since I have the president, the big man himself on tonight, I felt that the only song that could be played in his introduction was Hail to the Chief. This is 12 for 12, your host, Paul Beyer, and I'm now joined by the president of the Seahawkers Booster Club, Gene Hushak. How are you doing tonight, Gene?
No, not too bad, Paul, not too bad.
I'm glad you got a good sense of humor and laughed about that.
They pulled that on me one other time, and where did we go? Our Renton chapter was at KJR, and they did that because, they just thought they'd be funny to do that.
Well, I came up with that gag about 3 hours ago, so I guess I'm not the first to. Well, thanks again for coming on the show tonight, the podcast, and Live in Immortality on the Internet. I put this program together last year, and it's been growing steadily, and getting someone like yourself to come on is always a great thing. For those of the audience that haven't had a chance to be introduced to you or read your story on the website for the organization, why don't you take a few seconds, introduce yourself, talk about your background, and also just your love for the team and your work with the Seahawkers Booster Club.
Okay. I became a fan. I'm originally from the East Coast. I'm from Connecticut. And I started following the team in the early 80s. In 94, I came out here on a whim to actually what was an away game for me, but an actual home game for the Seahawks. I came out in 94 to see them play at home. I had seen them play on the East Coast and in the Meadowlands and in Foxborough, and just wanted to get away and see them play in Seattle. So I came out in 94 and fell in love with the area and thought to myself, geez, at some point I'm going to live here. So in 94, after that, I pretty much started going back and forth once a year to a game. In 2006, after the NFC game, I actually put in for season tickets. And from 2006 until the end of 2011, I started making about 4 or 5 trips a year. And the beginning of 2012, I just decided, it's time to go. So I packed up everything I had, moved away from family, friends, everybody I ever knew, and moved across the country, and here I am, pretty much just to be closer to the Seahawks, and the rest is history.
Wow. I think this is important, that what you just said. I mean, I did not know that you obviously were not from the area, and just until literally recently. Would you touch on a little bit about the fandom for Seahawks from outside, people that aren't, born and raised here? There is a group of people out there. Obviously, the Seahawkers group is one of the reasons for this, but there's a large population of folks that love the Seahawks that aren't, regionally oriented to Seattle.
Well, there seems to be now. Back in the early 90s, I didn't really know anybody. When I made my first trip, I knew one other Seahawks fan at the time, and I pretty much made the trip, one, to see them play at home in the Kingdom. As a matter of fact, the first game I saw was the first game they played in the Kingdom after replacing the tiles. And I pretty much came out, one, to see them play at home, and two, to be able to buy a T-shirt or a sweatshirt or something that said Seahawks, because in the early 90s, there really was no Internet to speak of. And
right.
So anytime you wanted to buy any type of apparel or anything like that, you had to do it through a catalog. So you'd mail out for a catalog, and they'd send you one, and you'd flip through all this cool stuff, a cool jacket or a cool sweatshirt, and you look over in the side column, it says available in, And it was every team but the Seahawks. It was the most common teams: the Packers, the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Steelers, things like that, the Bears. But you never saw anything Seahawks. So really, it was, I want to go out to Seattle to see that team play, and I want to be able to buy something that actually says Seahawks. So
just so many kids today would just think that's crazy.
Yeah, even as far as the 2005 Stupid Bowl, and that's what I referred. I'm still bitter over that, so I really don't want to touch on that. But I remember being at work and hanging up a banner over my desk, and one of my coworkers walked by, and he would look at me, and he'd look at the mini helmets on my desk, and he looked at this big banner hanging from the ceiling that said the road to the Super Bowl came through Seattle, or the road to Detroit came through Seattle, or something like that. And he looked at me, and he would just shake his head, and he goes, "You got to be the only Seahawks fan that I know." And he used to say that to me all the time. So once I started coming out, probably with the advent of really social media taking off in 2008 and connecting through Facebook and at the time MySpace to some people out here, and then finally coming out and meeting them, that's when I started to connect with people that I'm still in touch with on the East Coast. A close friend of mine now in Pennsylvania comes out usually once a year from Pennsylvania. Somebody in Tennessee who comes out. I know her, good friends with her. She's originally from New Hampshire, but now lives in Tennessee. So there's a whole bunch of them all over now. And now, leading now into the Seahawkers fan club. When I became president, which pretty much blew me away. It's kind of an appointed position. And like I said, I really moved out here just to use all my season tickets, maybe do some volunteer work in the community like I did in Connecticut, and, just become involved. And so I would go to some of these, not just the chapter meeting, but I'd go to the Central Council meetings. And this past December, they voted me as president. I mean, I'd only been here a year and a half. I mean, I see myself as, I'm just the guy from Connecticut that came here to use his season tickets, and they vote me in as president. And it was really just, I was like a deer caught in the headlights at the end of that meeting. I was like, what just happened here? So
was it a lifetime?
Yeah.
Is it a lifetime position? is this just putting the guy say, hey, you got it, buddy?
Yes, no, it's definitely not like the Pope where I have it until I die. It's at least a 2-year commitment on the board. The positions change after every 2 years. There's 8 members on the board. So every other year there's a vote, and 4 members on the board change. So I've got the position for at least 2 years, which, is I've settled into it. It really wasn't as bad. I really expected to start out somewhere at a lower level, maybe secretary or something easier, but it turned into president right out of the gate. So
not too shabby.
It really isn't.
Well, we're going to talk a lot more about the club and the work you guys do, especially in the community, here in a second. But before we get into that, let's go back in history a little bit. Let's relive this ridiculously awesome 2013 season. And I've seen some of the pictures. You got to hold the trophy. That's just like my dream would be to hold that thing. And I really want to get your perspective, not just on the Super Bowl, but take us up through the entire year from your perspective, being in your position around the fans that you are. And what was it like to experience this last year for you?
Wow. It was, after coming so close the prior year, once this season started, it was like, this is our turn. We came so close last year, and it was one of those, we're either going to do better or we're going to do worse. But it was just that feeling of electricity that the season prior ended with just never went away. Personally, myself, I would have liked to. It was a little disappointing for me at the start and a good portion of the season, because I don't seem to think that we played like the team that we did the year before, but somehow we kept winning. So that's really all that mattered. The irony to me was the 18 years of travel back and forth for them to finally go to the Super Bowl and go back and play it on the East Coast, literally an hour and a half away from where I used to live. And here I am on the West Coast, not able to get back to do that. But finally to see it, and in all honesty, to actually be in Seattle after, living the dream and moving here. As a matter of fact, this past Sunday has been 2 years since I got here, so I'm literally just over 2 years of being here. But actually to be in the city and be in Washington and be in the Seattle area when they won the Super Bowl was surreal. It was like being in Seattle when they won the first NFC championship back in 2005. It was 2006 technically, but the 2005 season, and being in the city when it happens. There will never be another. There was never be another first NFC championship, and I was here for that. And there will never be another first Super Bowl, and I was here in the city with the fans when it happened. So it was a very cool thing. It was. I'd actually have to say I'm blessed, to be lucky enough to be in that position.
I know I didn't write this down, but I'd love to get your perspective just on the game. Obviously, 43-8, we killed them. But is there one moment in that game, whether it's on the field or a photo or picture, a moment from the sidelines that you'll always remember and take with you that was awesome? That was an unbelievable moment about that game.
Honestly, it was the day before the game, believe it or not. I had gone over to the Renton area I don't know if you're familiar with where the VMAC is, but right around the corner there's a little Starbucks plaza, and I had to go meet somebody over there. We were able to get a hold of the Super Bowl programs as an organization to sell to our members. We were able to get the special hologram cover ones only sold in the Super Bowl stadium. Anyway, so we were there to hand them out as a meeting point there in that parking lot to hand them out to our members. And when we were done doing that, I figured, okay, I'm so close. Let me take a ride through the VMAC parking lot. And I went into the VMAC parking lot as one of those like kind of the day before good karma type things. And I did a quick selfie in front of the VMAC, in front of the stone thing that says VMAC on it. And I get into my car. The car was still running. The radio was playing. And I figured, all right, let me quick post this on Facebook. And the minute I start posting the picture on Facebook, Bittersweet Symphony came on the radio. And the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I went, we're going to win this game. And that is what's going to stick in my mind. There's just so many plays from the game. There isn't really one that sticks out in my head. The amazing hit that Cam Chancellor put on that guy. The safety right at the beginning of the game. Percy Harvin returning the kickoff in the second half. There was just so many things in that game that stick out. There isn't one specific, but if it was anything, I'd literally have to say it was that day before, when just the irony of getting in the car and then hearing Bittersweet Symphony as I'm trying to post a picture from the VMAC. And like I said, the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I got chills, and I went, you know what, we're going to win this game. This is going to be okay. We're going to be okay. So
I've been lucky enough to travel with the team at different times, when they get to playoff games and so forth. I went to Chicago for that year after our 2005 run. I was in Soldier Field when we went to overtime, and we lost in overtime, unfortunately. But things like what you said, there's moments that happen almost outside of the game. The experience are some of those things that live with you longer. And I understand what you mean by that. I would just say cherish it, because it's thankfully we won our championship. We obviously want more, but those are moments that just always can bring a smile back to you. let's get into the off season, and I'd like to just get your opinion. Again, I'm not sure all your. I know obviously you got to know the team pretty well, but just like the free agency period, the draft. What are some of the goods and bads? Hopefully all good, but what are the things that you think so far of our off season?
Just based on I see it, and believe it or not, I'm not a huge sports fan per se. I mean, I follow more of the team than I do the individual little parts of it, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really that sports literate. I really don't follow college football. So, I wait to see what starts materializing during like training camp and the OTAs now. And I was lucky enough to attend the town hall, and it really seems like things are coming together. They're really stepping things up. I really can't speak individually on players because I don't know that much about them. But after sitting through the town hall and getting that very cool connection that you got from Dan Quinn and Darrell Bevell, and then of course Pete, this very charismatic speaker, giving you that insight to their mindset and how they go about things, and how they start bringing players up, and this whole system that's been implemented since Pete took over, which I'm sure, I was on the East Coast back then and didn't get as much of the news as you people did, but again, being connected via social media and watching everybody, posting and commenting on what the hell's going on here. We've just signed this guy, and then we signed this guy. Now 2 days later, we let go of the guy we signed 2 days ago. And what is going on here? But at this point, rather than really scrutinize, I just have the faith in that they're really building for depth, that everybody that gets the chance to step in and play has competed for that spot and wants to play. So anybody that we let go at the end of the preseason ends up being, at least second string on another team, which speaks volumes of the caliber of players that they take. They'll wait, and they'll take second, third, fourth round guys that really just want to play versus the people in the first and second rounds that really feel entitled to be in the NFL. And when you have those types of players, that's when your team kind of harbors resentments, and they don't gel as a team because there's always one person or two people that feel they are the whole team. And we don't really have that. We've got a cohesive unit that really each other wants to see each other succeed. They've just taken the Pete Carroll mentality of let's find everybody's strong point, nurture that, develop it, and let them play to their best potential and do what we can do to allow them to succeed. And that trickles down to the team, and it's noticeable. When you really take a look at how the team's played in the last two seasons, no matter who they put in, everybody's willing to work with the other person next to them, and they're one of the things I had said once I was elected as president, and they said something to me about, well, it's your show now, and I went, no. You're only as good as the people around you, And that's that same team mentality. You've got to have that. Otherwise, you don't have anything. And I think that's what's going to be our strong point. It's not so much individual draft picks that we have. It's going to be maintaining that unity that is going to allow us to continually succeed.
Pete calls it the program, which is interesting, being a college guy, using that type of terminology at the pro level. It's always been shunned, but he's obviously using it to his advantage. Let's transition this conversation to the Booster Club and the work that you do. I'm assuming that the people around you in the club, the people on the board, all those people are obviously equally as important. And I just tell the group, again, some people aren't aware of the Seahawkers group. My first interaction with the Seahawkers group was in Las Vegas. I was down there to go watch a Niner game with a bunch of friends. It was the road game. We decided to all go to Vegas for the weekend. And the next thing you know, I end up meeting a dealer late at night who tells me she's a Seahawks fan and go to Torino's. That's where all the Seahawkers meet up. And I'm like, what? There's a Seahawkers group here? next thing you know, we're living in a huge room full of Seahawks people in Las Vegas. It was hilarious. It was fun. All those things, kinds of memories you remember. But why don't you tell my audience, again, a growing audience of people, about the group and what's the goal? What's the idea about the Seahawkers that makes it separate as part of this 12th man that we obviously own here in Seattle?
Okay, well, the Seahawkers originated back in '76, the same time the team did, and they really started as a fan/booster club to support the team on the field and also to support the Seahawks organization and in their community outreach endeavor. Be an extra set of hands whenever the organization needed it, and it's carried itself all these years. It started small in Kirkland and slowly added chapters around the state, and that's what we've carried forward. When I was elected president at the end of this year, the end of last year rather, 2013, there was about 24, or actually they voted 2 in the day I was elected president. So we had 26 chapters worldwide, by the way, because we had one in the UK. But currently now we've got 41 chapters worldwide. We've got one in the UK. We've just voted one in as a trial chapter in Mexico. Paperwork has been submitted, and we're about to vote on one in Germany. There's been interest in Denmark. We've got 3 in Alaska, 1 in California, 3 in Texas, 1 in Colorado, 1 in Arizona, the Midwest, the East Coast now. It's just been amazing. We've had the military chapter. We're over 5,000 members, and we're just into the halfway point of the year. We ended last year with 6,000 members. So conceivably, we could end this year with probably close to 10,000 members. So each individual chapter kind of runs themselves. Each chapter has their own president, vice president, secretary, membership, treasurer, and they do their own thing. They have their own meetings, do their own activities, but they also do support local organizations and charities. Some of them do Relay for Life. The big one that we try to do as an organization is the Blitz MS Walk. We are available when the Seahawks or the players' charities reach out. They'll reach out to us and say, look, we're doing an event. Russell Akroon did an event in the summertime with backpacks for kids at the Family Center up in Everett, and a bunch of us went up early, stuffed the backpacks, did whatever was needed, an extra set of hands. We've got the Russell Wilson Passing Academy coming up. We've helped out with some of the Richard Sherman blanket coverage, things like that. But what I'm looking to do also is to take the organization, and I'm encouraging the chapters to go out and be that 12th man in the community. I mean, for 3.5 months of the year, we're the 12th man in CenturyLink, in the opposing team's face for 1 full hour, whether we win or lose, nonstop. I want to take that strength and that power, and I want to do that in the community, and I'm encouraging the chapters to reach out to their town hall, their city hall, their chamber of commerce, see if there's a park or a ball field or a section of roadway or something that could use quarterly cleaning up. A few of us go out there and do some raking, cleaning up, straighten up a park a little bit, or look within your chapter. Find your neighbors. Look at your neighbors and see if do you have a single mom, a military mom, an elderly couple, a widow or a widower whose yard might be in a little bit of disarray and could use some help. I just want to show what the 12s can do and be a force in the community. It'll build some unity. It'll get our name out there because, like you said, as long as we've been around for 38 years almost, there aren't a lot of people that know about us. And I want to build that unity. I want to show people what we can do for the community rather than latching onto, and I think that's a bad phrase because, again, the Relay for Life and all these other charities that we help along the way, support, are all great things. But I also want us to be the organization that other people want to latch onto and say, hey, I want to do what they're doing. I want people to come to us and say, where can we help you? How can we help you? Just as we do for the Blitz Walk and the Relays for Life and all these other things. So that's what I'd like to see the organization head toward. And, I have at least 2 years to try to plant those seeds and propagate my vision. And hopefully maybe I get another 2 years and get it going. But if not, at least maybe I plant the seeds and get these things going so that whoever comes in behind me, we've already got people in place in the chapters to get this thing moving forward, to just be that community outreach organization that is almost like another arm of the community outreach division of the Seahawks organization.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be all labor related. It could be, helping people with tax returns if they can't afford it. Things like, there's a multitude of different things that could be done to help others, especially in the name of the 12s. Obviously, if it's attorney related, well, you got to talk to your attorney about that. But the point is,
taxes and things like that, you'd have to really find a specialist, somebody maybe within a chapter that has that ability to help. Yeah, we could do that as well. I didn't really think of it from that perspective. We try to shy away from anything that's got any type of legal ramifications behind it.
Absolutely.
Just on the instance, I'm certainly not going to sit down with somebody and help them with their taxes because the last thing I want is it posted all over with the Seahawkers president help me with the taxes, and I got audited.
Next thing you know, you got the IRS calling us.
Right.
No.
No.
Well, let's talk about how people can get involved. Again, I've looked on the website. I've read it up. But why don't you share with the audience how people can sign up for the Booster Club or get involved with the Seahawkers or one of the local chapters that are around in the area?
Sure. Well, what they can do is they can hit our website, www.seahawkers.org. We're going to be revamping. It's kind of a basic website right now, but there is a spot at the top that you can click on, and it will list all the chapters all throughout Washington, all throughout the United States. So if we're reaching people right now outside of the Washington area, feel free to click on there. And each chapter that you click on, I think at this point we've at least got some basic information. You click on whatever chapter that you see over in the left-hand column, and there should be some basic information, if not a meeting place of where they meet. There should be some contact information on how to get to them. And if there isn't, reach out to me at president@seahawkers.org, and I'll get an email, and I'll respond back to you. That's one of the things I've tried to do is be accessible. My background has been mostly in customer relations, customer service, and I want to try to carry that. And the president's job really is just to oversee the other board members, but I'd like to take it to another level of like being an ambassador, find out what the current members want and make this their organization, find out what other people, be there to promote it to people that don't know. So go to the website, find a chapter. If you're out of state or you're out of the area, you're interested in starting a chapter, there's a click point, I believe, all the way to the far right, and you'll scroll down to a box that'll say, I'm interested in starting a chapter, or, again, reach out to myself, and I will connect you with the people that are part of the board that do the new chapter committee and send you the information you need. Whatever you need. I'm just trying to be accessible and do that. But headed through the website. We're also on Facebook. There is a Seahawkers Facebook page. You'll also find a majority of the chapters have their own Facebook pages as well. Some chapters have gotten ambitious and created their own websites too. And as we modify and work toward a better website, we're going to try to link Facebook pages for the different chapters as well as any websites that the chapters have. So everything should be accessible through one website.
Well, I think what you're doing, I'm first of all eating it all up, is I love what you're doing. You talk about that 12's energy, because it's real. I know it's hard to describe to other people, especially that haven't gone to a game in that stadium or even in the Kingdom. The energy that we build here for some odd reason is just that. It's special. And to be able to pocket that, redirect it, into other things outside of that stadium, I tell you, I think that's wonderful. There's nothing like charity, and there's nothing like the feeling you get from it, and especially doing it around fellow 12s. My gosh, that's just like the triple crown. Pardon that California Chrome triple crown use, but I'll say that now. I know we've gone a little late, Gene, but before you go, you were at the town hall meeting, and I had some questions about that with you, but I'll make it real easy for you. First, just the coordinators. You obviously got to see Dan Quinn. You got to see Darrell Bevell get up there. And I got to tell you, they talked about stuff I never thought a coordinator or a coach would get up on an NFL team in front of, fans, let alone season ticket holders, on a public sphere and share some things. I'm a numbers guy. I'm an X's and O's guy, so I study those things. But they really went into quite a bit of stuff, but Pete went into a lot of philosophy, which I loved as well. From the coordinators, though, just to start with, what were some of the things that you really loved to hear from them, and just getting people around you? What were some of them saying about what the coordinators presented when they got up there and talked?
What I thought was cool was each one of them got their own interview with the individual that interviewed them, and then what they got to do is, they picked a play from throughout the season, whether it was playoff or a regular season game, and each one of the coordinators, you watched the play up on the screen, you heard the original television commentator, going through the play, then they showed it again with no sound, and the coordinator took you through that specific play, what they did to train for that, what they expected to happen, how that unfolded, and it was very cool from just an average fan, which I consider myself. I've never played football, so to hear it being broken down and how they train for it and hear that behind the scenes type of thing was very, very cool. The other unique thing about it is after they both spoke, and they were very well spoken, both of them. You would have thought they had done this before, but when Pete came out, part of his philosophy in bringing the best out of people was part of that town hall, was getting the two of them to do that, because they don't do a lot of public speaking. But he's prepping them to be coaches somewhere else and to be able to talk in front of groups and not get hung up and be able to be presentable and to be able to be knowledgeable and personable to people asking questions. And that was very, very cool as well. It was just a very unique thing. So to hear them talk about how, in some instances, when they were talking about some of the players from a couple of years back and who's developed the most and how they could tell that all they, just give them a few years and they're going to be good. Darrell Bevell left for a couple of years and came back, and so it was like moving away from school from a couple of years from the kids you grew up with, and then you move back and you see who's done what, and that was, he kind of likened that when he came back to, who was new, but when he came back, who had really made a name for themselves and who really was a standout. So it was cool to hear that perspective. It was really a unique situation. I'd never been invited to. I was invited to it when I lived in Connecticut the year that I moved out, but it happened 2 weeks before I left Connecticut, so I wasn't able to go. So to be able to go this year and sit through it was really cool. I don't know how many teams in the NFL actually do that and pull that off, but it made you, as a fan and as a 12, it made you feel even more connected. It really shows you that they're really in touch with and in tune with their fan base. It made you feel like part of that family, part of the team.
And that's what I took. It was just incredible. I'm up on this stuff trust me, I'm online all day working on researching everything you can imagine regarding the Seahawks. And to see a team do this, no other team does this. You know how Jim Harbaugh is and Trent Baalke down in San Francisco. This is the last thing on earth they would ever do.
Can't. Yeah, exactly. You try to think of, some of the personas that you see standing week to week on the side of a field. And again, some of them probably get more intense during game time. But, Pete still always has that personality about him, even on the side of the field. And, I was thinking that as he's pacing around and talking to everybody, and I'm thinking to myself, how many coaches in the NFL could really pull this off or would even care to do it?
Yeah.
You watch them, you even see it in some of the after-game interviews when the coaches get interviewed, whether they win or they lose. And some of them just don't really have a personality. And Pete always does. He's always out there to talk regardless of win or a loss. And, he's always upbeat. And some of them are just don't even want to talk, So, it really is. That was something that did go through my head as well watching it. Was, we've got a unique organization. We really do. And I think that makes a difference. I really do. I think it makes a difference. It's almost, you got to think of it as a workplace. I mean, it is for them, but think of some of the places that you've worked in the past, and the places where you've excelled the most are the places where you're kind of allowed to be yourself. There is a little bit of fun, but the seriousness of, there is a task and a job at hand to be accomplished, but you're still allowed to have a little bit of levity in the situation. And when you've gotten that, and your boss isn't, micromanaging you and just busting your stones the whole time, you're more apt to want to deliver for them, versus carrying that resentment. I don't know, I'm sure she's just going to get on my case again. So, and it really shows. I mean, it really does show in the administration. It shows within the coaching staff. It's just throughout the whole organization, and it just permeates. And that I think is one of the huge keys to our success. And hopefully we continue. But like Pete says, it's not a matter of repeating anything. It's one game at a time. Let's win this week, and we'll worry about next week after next week.
Mm-hmm. He's done an amazing job of instilling that type of thinking into a pro team, which for years people thought was impossible. He's done it. He's done it his way. So all those things that people talk about him and what he did at USC, but what he was actually trying to do even back in New England. I mean, you were back there during that time frame, and a lot of people say he actually was building it. And what Bill Belichick took over, a lot of people, as good and as great a coach as Bill Belichick is, a lot of the roots were actually put in place by Pete. He just didn't get time to finish it. And boy, oh boy, he's finished it here.
Oh, yeah, and I believe he did a year with the Jets, but I think they kind of just threw him in almost as a scapegoat. They put him in a lose-lose situation, I believe, in the Jets situation.
Right.
And he just they put him in. They didn't really expect him to succeed, and then when he didn't, it was their excuse to get rid of him. They just needed somebody in the meantime, and it was a little disheartening with his track record in the NFL. And then we got him, and it was like, wow, what are they doing? And you had all the commentators and all the sports talking heads going, he didn't make a name for himself in the NFL. He's not an NFL coach. He's a college coach. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. That first season we watched the revolving door of players in and out and in and out, and we were not that good that season. You're like, what are they doing? But then all of a sudden, when it started to click, you started to go, okay, they're looking at a bigger picture. They're doing something, and we've seen the end result. And what's the phrase? I'm in. We're all in,
and it's all about the ball, right? It's all about the ball.
Exactly. It's all about the ball, and I trust them with what they're doing. They've got a vision. They've certainly proven it in the last 2 years. So. Let them do what they're doing. They've got a good vision. They've got a good way of looking at people. It almost reminds you of the movie Moneyball. You know what I mean? Where
yeah, absolutely.
That one person had a different approach of looking at which players to take, and I honestly think that's kind of the thing that our organization has been doing. We're not taking these first rounders and all these huge names. We're taking these people that nobody really expected anything from. So.
Well, it's what you just said is actually the truth, because Doug Baldwin's a perfect example. His numbers don't put him in the top of the league. But if you look at the advanced statistics, sabermetrics, those types of things, he ranks in the top 5 in the entire league in importance and value he brings to the team. And that's measured with statistics, but just a very amount of them, especially in important situations. But we could talk about that another time, my friend. I unfortunately do have to go because I've got a number of other topics to get to, a shorter period of time to do it. But Gene, take 1 second. Obviously, I'd love to have you back on again. But this is a weekly show. I don't know how much you read up on me, but the website, my website, 12412s.com. I'll be sure to post all your information there so people know how to find the Booster Club. And if there's anything I can share with them on my website, please let me know. But just to end, again, share with everybody where they can contact you, follow you, social media, and then also the website for the Seahawkers Booster Club.
Yeah, I'm not really a big Twitter person, but I am on Facebook under Gene Hushak, and through the Seahawkers Booster Club, www.seahawkers.org, and they can get a hold of me either through Facebook if they find me there, or they can send me an email to presidents@seahawkers.org.
And I'll, like I said, post all that on my website, again, under the show notes so people know how to find you. And let me know how I can help. I'm building my own little brand here, and it keeps growing, which is a positive thing, obviously, for me. It's out of my love for the team, just like your love for the team. But if there's anything I can do to help you, Gene, please don't hesitate to ask me, okay?
Oh, sure, and vice versa.
Awesome. That is great. I really appreciate it. Well, hey, Gene, have a wonderful night. I got a motor. I got a number of topics to get into. It never stops for me. But you have a great evening, and we will be in touch, folks. That's Gene Hushak from the Seahawkers Booster Club.
Thanks, Paul. Go Hawks.
You bet. Go Hawks. Thank Gene Hushak again for joining me from the Seahawkers Booster Club, El Presidente. It was really nice to hear from his perspective. I didn't know really a lot about him from his background. I think that was fascinating to hear about him coming for his love for the team, coming out from the East Coast to live here, literally. And also, I think it was interesting to hear his perspective of what happened at the Seahawks town meeting, because he isn't an X's and O guy. He is not a guy like me that really follows that stuff, player personnel groupings, things like that. He's really a fan. That's really what he is. So it was really nice to hear that from Gene. So thank you again for coming on. Thank you again to the listeners. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you, those that call in and just listen on the switchboard. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Obviously, listenership, the episode last week with Megan Granito was fantastic. Her new contribution to NFL Female. She's one of the most listened to shows, actually, along with Norb Kawili now. Those are some of the top 3 or 4. And I do want to thank both of them because they are people that I think are going to be regular contributors here on the show. Obviously, OTAs. Let's give everyone a schedule announcement. OTAs have started, but minicamp starts next week, week from today. So the 27th to the 29th is going to be minicamp. Get excited because it's going to be everybody, all hands on deck. Do yourself a favor, listen to last week's Megan Granito show. Also, you can listen or see the YouTube video slideshow I put together. That's on my YouTube channel, 12 for 12s. Also, I want to bring up again the NFL Roundtable show I did with Dennis Apagito of Talk Jets Radio and his partner, compadre, Tyson Roush. Do listen to those guys or check them out from time to time. But listen to this program. I had Dennis on, Jacob Westendorf from the benches for the Packers Radio Network, as well as Chase Ruddick of Just Blog Beatty for the Raiders. Really great to get all their perspectives. And, again, all those guys were on this panel show. We talked about everything from the league to different divisions they're in, and we talked about each other's teams, which, again, I think was fascinating to get their perspectives, again, how they feel about the Seahawks. For all those who may be listening, please support all the shows as part of our Double Overtime Network. Also, all of our social media, from Twitter to Facebook, everything. And not just me. I'm talking about Double Overtime, Tim Gardner, Barry Roy, everybody. please follow. Fourth and Short, T.J. McHenry, Adam Garrow, everybody's great. So please get on that and do follow them. Thanks to Phoebes, Rachel, Joseph, Tina, and all the retweets, especially from the OOT team that helps in promotion. Shout out to the fellas in Texas. I love you fellas doing all that work down there and listening to me on Subway, getting that lunch together on the TuneIn radio that you guys do. I'm glad we got that set up for you. Get the latest updates from myself on 12412s.com. Again, that's 12FOR12 the letter S.com, 12412s.com. Sometimes I say it so fast that you don't hear that S. Just make sure everyone knows that. Again, on Twitter, at PBizzle. My handle is at PBIZZEL. And now, again, my new account on Facebook, both my personal at Paul Beyer as well as 12for12's radio page. Check them out, follow them, like them, all that neat stuff. I'm on there about 3 to 4 times a day sending out updates, so you should be in the know on what's going on, up to speed, if that's all you can get to or check on your media devices. Note that the interviews, again, I'm putting them all up on YouTube. Again, Gene and I's interview will be up on YouTube by this weekend. I'll put together a little slideshow. You can listen to that. Again, some of those can't be heard on mobile devices. You can only listen to them or watch them on desktops, so just be aware of that. Also, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, those are great places to use your devices, iOS or Android, to listen to the show. I'm very happy to see the value, especially TuneIn Radio. Again, I've done both, but TuneIn Radio has really done a fantastic job of not only the clarity, hearing the shows themselves, they do sound fantastic. So check that out. Obviously, you can always go on Blog Talk Radio and do it, but again, from a usability standpoint, I think functionality-wise, TuneIn or iTunes is the best way to go. Tune in to OOT tomorrow with Tim Berry and myself. We'll be talking, obviously, Mariners, this homestand here with the Yankees in town going on right now. Iwakuma's on the hill, and obviously all the Hawks news coming out of OTAs on day 3 and 4, rounding out the week. Good night, again, to everybody listening to 12 for 12, hosted by me personally, Paul Beyer. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Boy, I have been long-winded tonight, but I hope you enjoy all of the information. And again, thanks to Gene Hushak for joining us from the Seahawkers Booster Club. Now, all his information will be available on 12for12s.com. All right, OTAs are going to wrap up. Two more practices, and then that's it. This is the end of 12for12s.com, and go visit 12for12s.com, but this is the end of the show, 12 for 12s, with your host, Paul Beyer. Let's go ahead and, as we always do, take it out to what I call Up the Irons, Iron Maiden.
Can I play with madness? The sense to wonder if I'm free. Give me a sense of wonder to know I can be me. Give me the strength to hold my head up.
All right, that's the show for tonight. Thanks again for listening to 12 for 12s. Your host, Paul Beyer, signing off. As always, go Hawks. See you next week.